freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 467 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is defending this 2A in AZ. Our guest today is Michael Gibbs. Michael is the president of AzCDL and a registered lobbyist for the organization, as well as the Arizona director of the 10th Amendment Center.
Welcome back to the show, Michael. And we are in the studio, even though this is going to post a little later, we are in the studio recording on Constitution Day 2024.
How appropriate. I'm honored.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute. Constitution Day?
Yep, it's still a thing, Ben.
How many of our Congress people or representatives know that the Constitution even exists?
I don't know, but we should
they're not
send
following it.
every single one of them one of these and then test them later. And the test is when we vote for them, right?
They would flunk. A lot of them would flunk.
They sure would. Anyway, welcome to the show, Michael. We are excited to have you back on. I see on your shirt you're wearing the beautiful logo for the Arizona Citizens Defense League. Tell us what is that organization? What does it do? And why should every single person on the planet join?
Well, Cheryl, as you know, Arizona Citizens Defense League is all about firearms. It was started by four guys sitting around a diner 19 years ago who had a vision of improving the state's gun laws. And since then, we've grown to be the largest pro-rights lobbying organization in Arizona. During the legislative session, we have full-time lobbyists down at the Capitol who work with legislators to try to stop bad bills and promote bills that support the right to keep and bear arms. We're nonprofit, nonpartisan, all volunteer. And our political philosophy is grounded in the Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, which says that all political powers inherent in the people, governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. Now, I wonder how many of our legislators could pass that test.
Sadly, few.
We're a membership organization. Members are our lifeblood, and they're what give us our political clout down at the Capitol. So, when we're working with legislators and we say, hey, how would you like to get 6,000 emails telling you this is a stupid bill? That means something. So during the legislative session, we often ask our members to contact their legislators via phone calls, emails, the legislators' request to speak system. And despite the cynical attitude of some people, quite often the legislators will at least listen to us. So that's a good thing. And then we often have folks volunteer to man booths at gun shows and other events where we recruit new members, reach out to gun stores and other organizations to expand our reach there. Over that last 19 years, we've gotten 63 bills signed into law by 3 different governors, including constitutional carry, prohibitions on the confiscation of firearms during emergencies. Some people call that the Katrina bill. We've strengthened state preemption of firearm and knife laws, improved protections for the lawful use of weapons, just a whole bunch of things. And one that's really near and dear to my heart is that a bill we passed a couple of years ago that's actually an anti-commandeering bill that prevents state and local law enforcement from enforcing federal laws that are more restrictive than Arizona state law.
That one is, most people would know it as, what's that other phrase that they use?
Nullification?
Nullification is a good one.
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary state. That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, I'm a little cautious with the use of that term, particularly because it's been associated with other things like immigration and so forth. But yeah, basically, at least five different Supreme Court decisions have held that the federal government cannot force states to enforce federal law. Now, that doesn't mean Arizona would interfere. If the federal
Right.
Agents come into town and want to arrest you for something, they're not going to interfere, but they're not going to help.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the federal government very, very seldom has the resources to enforce all of their laws. So taking away their ability to recruit local law enforcement is a huge step in protecting us from overreach.
That's weird to have more laws than what they're able to enforce. That's a sign, isn't it?
It really is.
Well, if you look at the federal constitution and with the amendments and everything, there's something, depends how you count, around 34 or so, 35 enumerated powers, the things that the federal government is empowered to do. And yet they've somehow turned that into 250,000 pages of federal regulations. I mean, you probably violated 3 of them today and don't even know it.
Yes, for sure. And I have to say that one of the things you said was the success of the AzCDL, which, full disclosure, you are the president, I'm the vice president. I'm so honored to be able to serve as vice president. One of the things that we've accomplished, this was long before I came along, but in 2010, our constitutional carry was passed, and someone, I cannot remember who sent me this, so please ping me in my DMs or email me or something and remind me. This is the Arizona Republic. This is what it looked like back in 2010. Thursday, July 29th, concealed carry law takes effect. And, here we are 14 years later, and, our crime rates went down. Lives have been
Wait a minute.
saved.
You're saying our crime rates, they made it so you could legally carry without a permit, concealed, and our laws, I mean, our crime has went down? That doesn't sound like the way that that's supposed to work.
Well,
yeah, we were expecting, blood in the streets and
Oh,
everything.
that was the argument, right?
Yeah.
But an armed society, it's an old saying, but it's so true. An armed society is a polite society, because the bad guy just doesn't know where he may or may not encounter resistance. So I just love that I have that piece of newspaper laminated from all those years ago.
And it kind of makes sense too, because you think about it, even if it was concealed carry permit, you go get a permit. What defines you just because you got a permit? And what makes you better just because you got a permit? I think it's good that people should get them because you do get a little bit of training, at least some knowledge of the laws.
Sure.
But it's like, if why do I have to have a permit? To protect my family.
So for me, and Michael, you can launch off of this. For me, it's mostly about who do you trust to be that gatekeeper, right? Who do you trust to say, oh, I'm going to allow Cheryl to have a gun, but not Dan. I don't really like Dan that much. I don't like the looks of him or whatever they might come up with.
Thanks.
But that's the thing, is we are allowing this permission-based system to exist, which puts way too much trust in other people that you don't even know, who don't know you. And so to remove that, as the AzCDL works so hard to do, evens the playing field and takes that permission system out of there. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Well, I think if any of the other rights that we hold dear, like freedom of speech, freedom to express our religion, practice our religion, all the guarantees we have for due process and so forth, I think if all of those were permission based, a lot of people would have problems with it. And yet when it comes to firearms, they're like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
to me.
It's a double standard,
Yeah. The very thing that can save the life of yourself, your spouse, your child. I really don't want to ask anybody's permission. I'm not going to ask anybody's permission because I am fortunate to live in the state where the AzCDL helped to secure, actually just to hold to the letter of our Bill of Rights. But as you said, Michael, this that I'm holding is our federal, right, Bill of Rights and Constitution. But here in Arizona, our Bill of Rights is actually stronger. The phrasing is actually stronger in that Article 2, Section 2, than it is, instead of infringed, it's impaired. And how powerful a one word can be.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Article 2, Section 26.
Oh, 26. I apologize. You're
Yeah.
right.
Article 2 of the Arizona Constitution is essentially our Bill of Rights, and Section 26 is the one that refers to the right of individual citizens to bear arms in defense of himself or the state, which shall not be impaired. Like you said, it's actually stronger wording than the Second Amendment has. So, a lot of people think about the Second Amendment and talk about the Second Amendment. And really, it's a much broader issue, and that is the right to keep and bear arms. And it's protected in a lot of different ways in different states and at the federal level.
Absolutely. And then getting back to that federal level and the fact that we are sitting in the studio on September 17th, 2024, like on the eve, basically, of a huge election. It's a presidential election year. Everybody's focused on that office and those federal offices. And we saw a debate recently between Trump and Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris said, I'm not, yeah, her little muggings. I'm not trying to take anybody's guns away, right?
I'm a gun owner.
I'm a gun owner, she says. So you can trust me, right? Like what are people supposed to make of this? The AzCDL is nonpartisan. I'm not talking any kind of partisanship here. I'm talking about the issues. What is important for people who are about to go and vote? What is important for them to know about our gun rights?
Well, I think in a lot of ways we've become completely derailed, right? We expect everything from a president. We blame presidents for everything that goes wrong. We expect presidents to, come up with a budget. We expect them to issue executive orders and stuff. None of those things are constitutionally legitimate, right? I mean, at the federal level, the House of Representatives is supposed to hold the checkbook. They shouldn't care what the president thinks about, the budget or about gun control. The job of the executive branch is to enforce the laws that are passed by Congress. Unfortunately, Congress has handed over a lot of their authority to the executive branch because they just don't want to deal with things. And of course, a politician's main objective is to be reelected. Right. So they don't want to do things that are unpopular. But I say at the federal level, particularly with the laws that we have in place in Arizona, we're in pretty good shape in a lot of respects. But where the danger is, to my mind, is right here at home. We've got a governor that is very anti-gun. In her first week in office, she invited a group from Moms Demand Action for a photo shoot and meeting with her in her office. And all session long, she wouldn't allow her staff even to meet with us to talk about issues. And of course, every year we have anti-gun legislators in the state legislature who introduce anywhere from a half a dozen to a dozen bills that would basically undo all of the work that we've accomplished over the last 19 years. They want to get rid of constitutional carry. They want to go back to a system where you don't have a right to stay in your house or car or anywhere else you're legally allowed to. You had a duty to retreat when someone invaded your space. There was also, in a lot of cases, you used a firearm for defensive purposes. You often found yourself in a case where you were really considered guilty until you were able to prove you were innocent. And of course, that's turning legal jurisprudence completely upside down. So, we've managed to improve all of those things in state law, but the governor would very much like to see those things go back to the way they were.
And Michael, we have a governor that's basically anti-gun, but yet we have more gun owners in this state than with enough control that if they would have just voted, if they'd have just joined the AzCDL, if they'd have just got off the sofa, if they'd have just talked to their friends, that we wouldn't have that governor in office right now.
That's absolutely right, Dan. I think there's a prevailing attitude here, especially among gun owners, that, what can't happen here. Arizona, Guns and Ammo magazine said we had the best gun laws in the country for 6 years running. Well, okay, but things change. And
Yes.
and right now, we have national organizations like Everytown for Gun Safety and so forth, pouring millions of dollars into legislative races here in the state in an attempt to gain a majority in the state house and the state senate. Right now, the pro-gun groups have only a single seat majority in both of those chambers. And so, all they've got to do is get one of those people to lose an election to an anti-gun person, and pretty soon the whole game changes. Then you have a legislature that's willing to pass, restrictive measures for guns, and a governor willing to sign them.
Mhm.
Yeah. You traveled
it's
all
a
through
very
Arizona.
dangerous situation.
Yeah, you travel all through Arizona, and you see gun-loving people all around the border of Maricopa County and Tucson. The whole state is gun-friendly, good people,
Freedom-loving.
except for these counties that really control everything. Maricopa County and Pima County, I guess it is. Or is it Pinell? I can't remember. Anyway, Tucson.
Pima.
But if we would just get up off our butts and vote, we wouldn't have to worry about the situation that we're in right now, or we're getting ourselves into right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have this theory, and I can't prove it, but to me, it seems like political attitudes are really a function of population density. When you put too many people in a city and you smash them all together, their politics shift left, and everybody else further to the right. So that's where you end up with things like Tucson and Phoenix being, places that have the large voting blocks, but also don't respect the right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
It's so crazy. Growing up, I think we're all about the same age. I was taught my rights end where someone else's begins, period, end of story. And it was probably because I was raised by a single dad, and it was, me and 3 brothers. And so we were constantly, like infringing on each other's space. Keep your hands to
siblings do.
yourself. Yeah. Keep your hands to yourself. Where did that go? And why do people, especially when they're mashed together, you think that they would even more value, this is my space, you stay out of it. And yet, as you said, it seems like it goes the other way. And then we want some other power to, come in and be daddy and say, well, make him behave, make her behave at, that phrase, well, somebody ought to, there ought to be a law. That's the one. There ought to be a law.
Yeah.
People say that so lazily, because what that really means is you are willing to basically sick governmental agents with firearms, right, to enforce whatever your thoughts and your will is. And I do think we become really untethered in that direction. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree. Every time somebody makes that statement, what they're really saying is my opinion about this is so important, I'm willing to send people with guns to stop you. And of course, that's just crazy talk.
It really
but it's the
is.
same kind of mentality, that coming back to the presidential, race and stuff. It's the same mentality that we use when we anoint a president king, basically, and give them all sorts of authority that they really aren't supposed to have.
It's so
The
true.
framers designed a system of governance that was attempting to spread out the authority across multiple levels and multiple branches within each level of government to prevent any one group or one person from amassing too much authority. And for the most part, we've thrown a lot of that away already.
So what is it? It's just too hard to get off the sofa? And is it too expensive to join the AzCDL? Is that the reasons? I mean, what's a membership for this? Now, keep in mind that every member, when you guys go to these legislatures, they know how many members you have, and your voice is strong. How much does it cost to become a member of the AzCDL? Arizona City?
Well, we offer discounts when we do shows and events and stuff, but depending on how you sign up, it's around $40 for the year.
$40 a year.
And what that
to
gets
save
you
your
is, basically full-time, lobbying representation at the Capitol during every legislative session, as well as the activities that we carry on in between. Because of the looming threat of, possible changeover in the makeup of the state legislature and an unfriendly governor, we've become involved in other activities. We have just restarted the Arizona Citizens Defense League PAC. So we're going to be getting more involved in electoral politics at the state level. We've also established relationships with organizations that specialize in litigation, like Second Amendment Foundation, Goldwater Institute, and so forth, to protect the laws that we already have gotten passed. In fact, we're in the process right now. We are involved in a lawsuit with Pima County because they passed an ordinance earlier this year that required someone to report a lost or stolen firearm to law enforcement within 48 hours. Well, or face a $1,000 fine. And that exceeds the limits in state law, and therefore it violates the preemption law. So we are suing them to get an injunction to block that ordinance.
Awesome.
Exactly. And as you said, Dan, Pima County, there they are again, right?
Yeah.
And what is the status currently, if I'm not, bringing up something that you don't have the most latest information? There was a group of confiscated firearms that should have been sold at public auction to support taxpayers that was sent off to some other country. What's the status of that whole thing?
Yeah, apparently the city council of the city of Phoenix decided that they had a large collection of confiscated firearms, that they thought would be better used in Ukraine to fight off Russians. And so they arranged to have a shipping company transport those firearms out of state. Well, that also violates state law. They're required to return those, via the marketplace to the citizens of Arizona. So we had warned the city council ahead of time that what they were doing was illegal. They went ahead and did it anyways. Then we got some state legislators involved in that, and they intervened. And basically, the city council said, "Oh, okay, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this." And then they were trying to get them to the firearms returned. Last I heard, they were still not back in Arizona. I'm not sure how this will play out. Almost to me seems like some of those city council members and possibly the mayor really ought to be facing some criminal charges for deliberately violating state law when they knew better.
Absolutely.
I wonder, do they have an export-import license to do firearms too?
Bet they don't.
No, I think that the company they hired to do the transfer had all the paperwork for that, but I don't. The city of Phoenix does not.
I would not. I would guess they wouldn't care. It wouldn't matter. So what are you going to do to? I'm a city council. What are you going to do to me? Yeah, I know we're supposed to give those guns back to the civilians, and the money's supposed to go. They can sell them at auction. They can use the money for whatever they want to use the money for. But what are you going to do to me?
Exactly. Which is part of the problem,
Yeah.
right? Like
You can't sue me individually. You can't. I'm a city council member. I don't think you can sue me for making a wrong decision, right?
Well, and that's the problem with most of politics, right? Politicians make decisions all the time, and they never face any consequences for the bad ones.
Exactly. And then if there, let's say there were some financial reparations to be made. So now it's the taxpayers again who get to
Right.
foot the bill for that. It's just
Right. If
always
the
on
city
our
ends up
backs.
being fined, it's the taxpayers that lost. They're also the ones that lost out on the revenue of selling those firearms back to the marketplace. So yeah, they lose twice.
Exactly.
Yeah, so to make it clear, I think you guys had something to help with this too. So they were destroying the firearms, and so there's a law passed that said they couldn't destroy the firearms. They had to be sold to public auction or used in their department, right? And and so that was to generate more money for why would you cut up a $400 or $500 gun? Why not sell it, get it back on their term, get it back on the streets. But, you still have to go through an FFL. You still have to go through all the paperwork.
Right.
But why would you not take that revenue?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, the argument at the time was, well, these guns were used in crimes, and it's disrespectful to the victims and all this kind of stuff. Well, of course, victims have no relationship to any of that hardware.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that was an Arizona Citizens Defense League. I wouldn't say we sponsored it. We recommended that bill, and we managed to get the legislature to pass it. So yeah.
Tucson violated that regulation a couple times too, from what I understand.
Yes, and they had to be slapped too.
So
It's true.
again,
Tucson
it's the major cities that are doing it in spite of the law.
Yeah.
They're breaking the law.
Right. Right. And Tucson seems to think they're their own nation or something. I don't know. They just keep trying to do whatever they want and flout the law. And so thank goodness for an organization like the AzCDL that knows the law and will hold them to the letter of the law. Not that we're doing it, but we're able to reach out to the proper authorities that can then therefore take care of it and make the public aware and help the public use their voice. And I think that's one of the key strengths of the AzCDL is that you do engage the citizen who's the end user of the rights, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, Tucson is just as bad. This lawsuit that we've brought against Pima County with the help of the Goldwater Institute is basically for the same infraction that the city of Tucson tried a couple of years ago, and they got slapped down as well. So I don't know why the Pima County officials felt that, we can get away with it this time. I think there was one member of the council who thought it was a bad idea, but the rest of them said, oh yeah, let's do this. And so we warned them, we're going to sue you if you do this. And they said,
so go ahead,
we're doing it
us.
anyway.
Yeah. So us anyway. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, once a year, we celebrate our members. We come together, congregate, and, talk about the challenge ahead and celebrate the wins of the previous year. And that is the AzCDL annual dinner, annual meeting. Tell folks a little bit about that event. It's coming up pretty soon.
It is coming up pretty soon. The annual meeting will be held Saturday, October 19th. It's from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's going to be held. We do it every other year in Phoenix or Tucson. This year it's in Phoenix at the Phoenix Elks Lodge, number 335, which is basically at 32nd Street in Thunderbird. So hopefully I'll be convenient for a lot of folks. We're going to have catered barbecued lunch, raffles, legislative updates, all sorts of fun things to do.
So great. And this will be the first year we've had it at this location. So I'm really excited about that. Barbecue is always a winner, especially in Arizona. And
don't worry if you're a vegetarian, we got you covered.
We do. We're thinking about you. And we have lots of different speakers. You're going to present a report, this sort of thing. But we have a particular keynote speaker this year.
Yes, our keynote speaker is Parker Jackson, who's a staff attorney at the Goldwater Institute. He's the lead litigator on our lawsuit against Pima County. So he's going to be able to give us an update on what's going on with that case. We've already gone through a round of paper chasing and depositions and so forth, but he'll be able to bring us up to date on everything that's going on with that lawsuit.
That is fantastic. And how do people do we buy tickets to the meeting? Do you have to be a member to attend the meeting? How does that work?
You're asking me all these hard questions.
I know. See, it's a test, like I want to give our legislators, right?
You do need to be a member to attend the meeting, but we'll make that really easy for you if you're not. You can visit the AzCDL website at azcdl.org, and click the link for the annual meeting there. And you can buy tickets there. You can join there. All of that stuff is pretty easy to do.
Absolutely. And We even have people that will buy like a whole table of 10 and invite a bunch of their friends and their neighbors. And so again, yeah, you need to be a member, but it's so cheap. It's less than one meal, right? That you're going to eat out to be a member for an entire year and help support this great organization. And here in Arizona, we are one of those states that we have a lot of winter visitors. Maybe October might be a little early. I don't know. Depends on what the weather is back east. We have a lot of people that are either transplanted here or don't live here full time. Would it benefit them to be a member of the AzCDL?
You'd be surprised how many members we have that don't live in Arizona now, either used to but moved away, or just folks that want to support our mission. So, there's a lot of folks that from out of state that are members.
Absolutely.
Should
I
be a
highly
requirement.
encourage
If you come to Arizona in the wintertime,
Mhm.
you should join, because what you guys do, the AzCDL, what they do is they protect our rights, even for the people that don't live here.
And even for the
You want
people
to
that
visit the Grand Canyon? You need to join.
Yes, right. Yeah.
love that. That's a fantastic. It's the history of our organization, the AzCDL. As you said, we're about 19 years old. Our founders were five guys that sat around a table and decided somebody ought to do something, and they did. And so our previous president, who was one of our founders, dear friend of both of ours, David Kopp, who passed away a couple of years ago, um, he was speaking at an event several years ago. It was one of the first events I went to as doing a podcast about all this sort of thing. And he said from the podium, "Are you a gun owner in Arizona?" And of course, I'm thinking, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "Are you a member of the AzCDL?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not," thinking to myself. And he goes, "And then why not?" And I was like, I I don't have an answer to that question. And so yes, I am going to become a member. And that goes through my mind so much because it's like duh, right? Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, so many people would rather sit on the couch and watch Dancing with the Stars than send an email to a legislator or make a phone call. And, yet that makes such a huge difference. Um, Something else that Dave said one time that really stuck with me was, some people don't want to join an organization like AzCDL because they don't want to be on a list. They don't want to be identified as a firearm owner or something in the event that in the future that's used against us somehow. But Dave wrote a little op-ed for our newsletter one time where he said, not only, it doesn't matter, you're on the list anyway, but he goes, I want to be at the top of the list. I want to be
love
the
that.
first one they come after.
Yeah. And you said something,
love that.
today that's going to stay on top of my head for a while. I'm thinking, how many entrances are there to the Grand Canyon, and could you have a fund drive? I mean, a booth at the entrance of each of those. Your membership drive right there, right there. What if there's only 3 or 4 entrances, aren't there?
That's
maybe we
fantastic.
maybe we could offer them a discount for the
Yes.
park entrance if they join.
Yeah.
I like this brainstorming session we're having here. This is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for all that you do, Michael. And this is such an important organization. And to have you at the helm of it, not only because you yourself have a heart for our freedoms, but you really understand them. You don't just have a heart for them, you have a mind for them. You also, I mentioned at the beginning, or Dan did, that you're the Arizona director to the 10th Amendment Center. Just very briefly before we wrap up, what is the 10th Amendment Center? And again, why should everybody on the planet pay attention and read what they write to educate us?
Well, back when that Constitution was signed, it did not have a Bill of Rights. And there were some contentious arguments about whether it should have one. There were those that thought that if they added a Bill of Rights, that it might imply that the things we list are the only rights that you have. And then there were others that thought it was important to explicitly, state some of these things. But in the process of doing that, the 10th Amendment basically says that if we did not specifically authorize federal government to do a certain thing, then it's retained by the states and by the people. And it's become very easy to just think that the federal government is the boss of the states and they get to do whatever they want. But, that is not how it was designed to be. So I could go on a long time about it. But the gist of it is, that the states are not under the command of the federal government, except in those areas that are specifically delegated to the federal government as their authorities.
Absolutely. And
that's why I like that, that anti-commandeering bill, that AzCDL got passed a couple of years ago, because it really ties in very nicely with the 10th Amendment.
Absolutely. We have become so complacent in so many ways, and the wrong people benefit from our complacency, our laziness, our distraction. And so to have these two organizations, the 10th Amendment Center, that's constantly, every time I get an email from them, I feel like, I kind of get that little kick in the pants, like, are you doing your part? Are you paying attention? Did you know this piece of our history? It's a good kick in the pants. It's something that I need, and it helps fuel the work that I do here at Gun Freedom Radio. And
at the national level, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
The 10th Amendment Center guys are really big into historical research stuff too. And that sounds boring, history class, so boring. But actually, it's really fascinating because they really dig into the debates that went on at the founding, who was making what arguments in favor or opposed to different things. And they put together every week 20 to 30-minute video on a particular topic. And they are just fascinating. I mean, even if you think you know all this stuff, you'll learn something new every time.
You said that history is boring, and I kind of admit back in the day, early days, it was boring, but now it's like history affects us now. And so if you look at it that way, then it's not boring at all. In fact, it's challenging to try to keep up with it. But I think history is super important for us to remember it and learn from it.
It's so true.
I think a lot of people dismiss history because they say, oh, well, that was hundreds of years ago. What's that got to do with today and stuff? But, fundamentally, human nature hasn't changed very much in that time. Our technology's changed, our culture has changed, but humans are humans still. And all of the same issues that the founders grappled with, we still grapple with today.
Right.
Gosh, it's so true. I just, on my way into the studio today, I was on X, and I think Elon Musk shared a post that Hillary Clinton, somebody that ran for president, somebody who was the wife of a president, she was being interviewed, and she was saying, citizens who are saying things that aren't true, it's something maybe we should, she's implying that people should be held legally responsible, jailed possibly. I'm like, this is exactly, our founders saw this coming. This is exactly why we have our First Amendment right, because there are people like her that think that if you don't like what somebody says, or if what they said could somehow factually be, fact checked, that the law should come into play.
Well, I don't like a lot she said.
What is happening?
I don't like a lot that she said.
Thank you. Right?
Well, yeah. And if you think about it, the First Amendment is there to protect unpopular speech, because popular speech doesn't need protecting.
Thank you.
And who will be the arbiter of truth?
Exactly.
I certainly don't trust government to do that. A bunch of self-serving politicians and unelected bureaucrats, no, they don't get to decide what truth is.
Right. Amen to that. All right. We got to get on out of here. But Michael, tell folks one more time, how do they follow the work that AzCDL does and join? And then if they're interested in checking out our annual meeting, how do they do that?
Well, they can start with our website, azcdl.org. You can sign up for our email blasts and newsletters so you can keep up to date with what's going on. You can also find us on Facebook. Just look for AzCDL, Instagram. We're on X, what used to be known as Twitter. You'll even find a YouTube channel for AzCDL. So all of those places, we are there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again for all that you do. And if I don't talk to you before then, I will see you at the annual meeting, Michael.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Mike.
Bye.
You can't understate the importance of a group like AzCDL.
No, you
I'm
can't.
sorry, what were you
No,
going
it's
to
the
say?
same thing. It's just like, why are we a
Can't
majority?
overstate.
Why are we a majority? Gun owners are a majority in Arizona, but we're losing our grip.
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's because we don't think that it's going to happen. And then the problem is, once it's too late, it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh, if I could fight, they're not going to come and take my guns. Yes, they will. They'll take your buddies first, and they'll take somebody else's. It won't even be on the news. And if they do put it on the news, it's how you were this hoarder of of instant death or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so you won't be able to win one-on-one basis. If you want to win, you have to win now, and you have to win by being in a group that is trying to defend our rights.
Gosh, it's so true. I mean, you think about, my brain went to the Alamo. Now, maybe that's not a great example because,
Well, you could,
the way that panned out, but these people didn't just stay out in their own little individual cabins. And the people that did stay out in their own little individual cabins across the prairie, that those were easy pickings that they weren't able to withstand.
we don't
But you
know.
come together as a group with a shared goal. That's where the strength
Yeah,
is.
we don't know the true facts of Ruby Ridge.
Right.
We don't know the true facts of Waco.
Right.
So we don't know. And they're going to give us a story
Yep.
that hopefully that we believe them.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a radical. He was this, he's that. Well, I can't form an opinion on either one, but this guy lived in a cabin out in the middle of the woods with his family, and they came blazing with guns.
Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge. Yeah. So how do you, if you don't know who's even coming to your door, and then, why do you have to, just like the guy that was manager of the airport, they could have got him 50 different ways that there would have been no shooting. But, so they make the story so that you'll believe it and you'll say, oh, that guy's a bad guy.
Right. They showed up at his home in the middle of the, like 4 a.m. or whatever it was, kicked in the door. And then, of course, he thinks he's being arm robbed. He thinks he's having a home invasion. And so then they were justified in shooting him in his home, I guess.
Yeah, they
or
definitely,
something like that.
He definitely didn't shoot at the agents because he wanted to sell guns at a gun show.
Right.
That's
But again, do we know this person personally?
No.
We don't. And so the media and the authorities, they can make up any story they want to about him. And all we can do is say, oh, thank goodness the authorities
right. But they
have
could have got him at the
saved
airport.
us from a bad guy.
They could have got him at the airport. But the whole story, the reason I bring this up is because you as an individual that says they'll never take my guns, they will be able to take your guns. And because they're going to do it one at a time, who's got the money to fight the government? Use a group that's going to protect your rights now before you lose them.
Exactly. Beautifully said. All right. Well, we do need to start scooting on out of here.
You should thank Michael for being on the show.
I am absolutely thanking Michael for being on the show and his entire board of directors. We get to work with some amazing people on the board of directors and all of our membership.
Yeah. You should think of our
Some of
listeners
the
too.
best people on the planet. Speaking of the best people on the planet, our listeners and our viewers all over the planet. I mean, wherever there is internet, we have people who are hungry for this information, and we so value your time. If you want to go back and watch any portion of this video or any of our videos, then go to YouTube until they've decided to censor us, right? Could happen. It's happened to a lot of people.
Well, before you go back and watch any of them, let me fix my hair. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great. I mean, I would say that, if Hillary Clinton had her way, that we wouldn't be able to have these conversations based on what I heard her say on Twitter earlier today. So we have to support each other. We have to support the shows and the subject matter experts that we value. And so if you go to YouTube, GunStreamer, or the Opslin smartphone app, when you get there, do all the things that convey to their algorithm, those platforms' algorithm, that this is valuable, right? It's a like, it's a subscribe, it's sharing with your friends, your sphere of influence, and notification tells that platform, I want to know the minute a new show comes out. That's important, right? This show and this information is important enough to you that you are going to like it, you're going to share it with your friends, you're going to subscribe so that you can not miss a show, and you're going to be notified the minute we post a new one.
I know how we can get people to share better.
How?
Get a puppy.
Whoa,
Have
puppy?
a puppy on the show.
Oh,
Everybody will share it, right?
it's
A
true.
cute puppy.
Isn't that what marketers say? If you have a puppy or a child?
Yeah.
And we have 2 new puppies. We could just bring them in here and it'll be
Oh.
total mayhem, but maybe we'll get a lot of those. Anyway, moving on. If you want to listen to the audio only version of any of our shows, go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, and click the on demand tab. And
You can binge listen to your heart's content.
darling, that was musical. Wow, I like that
I gotta do
version.
something to give him to share.
That's true. And if you want to see photos and bios and links to all of our subject matter experts, including Michael Gibbs, you can get the link to AzCDL and also to buy tickets to the annual meeting. Click the guest tab. It is an ever-growing list of amazing people, smart people. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right. We have a couple of announcements that we like to make every single show because they're things that we truly believe in, want to support, and then these organizations also in turn support us. So lockedingrip.com. This is a liquid shooting sports chalk for better grip, no slip, safer, faster shooting. Lockedingrip.com. Buy yourself some and your favorite range buddy. If you ever do, God forbid, have to be involved in any kind of a self-defense encounter with your firearm, when the police come, they are going to process you, right? They're going to remove your firearm. They are probably going to end up taking you down to the station. Then they're going to get everybody's statements. You do need a lawyer. And so, attorneys on retainer, go to our homepage, gunfreedomradio.com, scroll down, you will find the link to attorneys on retainer. We are clients. I encourage you to do the same. There is national coverage from a trusted law firm, attorneys on retainer.
And they'll tell you to do like that guy did, Clink on Hogan's Hero, and say, I know nothing.
Yep. Make no statements, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. And because we love America, America is clinging by its fingernails to be what our founders put in place. And if you, like us, like to support American jobs on American soil, buying American-made products, then this is your opportunity to join this private invitation-only shopping club, patriothousehold.com/GFR, to buy all of the items that you normally buy at those huge stores that use every single dollar against your freedoms and your individual liberties. Well, patriothousehold.com/GFR uses those dollars to support the work that we do. We get a tiny piece of every dollar you spend and the Second Amendment Foundation. And so what you buy there are all the things you normally buy at those big stores, right? Your shampoo, your dish soap, your laundry soap. You can shop online as you need it, or you can set your order and forget it. That's what I do. And then your products, high quality, delicious, amazing products show up on your doorstep. It couldn't be any more convenient than that. We've never tried a single product that we don't like, including our amazing, delicious snacks that we always nibble on in between our episodes. The Simply Fit, the peach are my favorite.
And you know, just a couple of days ago, I had to go get some gift cards. So I went into one of the local grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather be stopped at a broken street light than go into a store again. I mean, it's just.
You are not wrong.
It's weird, okay? I just
Mhm.
want to tell you it's weird. And so I am, I'm I like the stuff coming to our door.
Absolutely. patriothousehold.com/GFR. Don't forget that part, because that's how you support the work we're doing and the Second Amendment Foundation. All right, we got to get on out of here.
Then we need to pray for our nation.
I think I've said that 3 times today. Got to get on out of here.
We got to pray for our nation.
We do. We got to pray for our leaders. How about the ones we don't like?
Can I talk to you about that later?
I think we're going to pray for them, maybe especially. That's what I want to do. All right, everybody. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.